I'm Barbara Mueller, and you are in for the ride of your life. I have met Shab. Shab is his nickname. He is called Chehab Elawar. Elawar, what a name. I said, with a name like that, you could have been king. Well, you know, he comes from Lebanon. I don't know if they have a king, but this man has a story. And the story has a beginning and it has a beautiful middle where we are today. He's a Rotarian, and you're going to find out so much about this Lebanese man who now owns half of the world, and you'll find out what I'm talking about when it comes to global grants. And I'm Barbara Mueller, and I'll be your host for the exciting few minutes that we're going to spend with Shab. You know, Shab, I asked him right away, I said, Shab, how did you get to the United States? You were in a civil war in Lebanon, a civil war. How did you get here, Shab?
Well, you know, we were in civil war and I got shot. I was actually, you know, if I tell my story, it's, I was like in high school to university type of situation. And, you know, and my past is different than a lot of high school kids. Because I used to go to school during the day and to the university after. And then at night, I will carry my AK-47 and I go guard the village because it was civil war, and that's what we do. And we were really poor, and I got so involved in the war that I lost a brother, and my mother decided I don't want to lose another child. So my mother asked my father, she said, if I have to sleep on the floor and I have to eat only olives for the rest of my life, I want to send my child out of here, my son out of here, because we have invested all our money for his education. Out of 6 children, he's the only educated person so far. And he could be our savior for the family. So I remember we have one piece of land, the only piece of land in my father and my mother's name. They go to our neighbor and they ask him if they can sell it to him for $5,000. The dollar used to be $3.25 for 3 lira and 25 for $1. Now it's 33,000. So you know, so you can see the inflation is killing the people in back home. So she said, "I want you to go and finish your education, and once you finish your education, you look back, and you help your brothers and sisters and us and everything else, and your community." And she was a literate person. My mother never knew how to write or read or write. As a matter of fact, when I brought her over here to the United States, she needed to sign some forms, right? And she did not know how to sign. So we showed her how to sign, but she was not signing. She was drawing her name because she will remember the things, you know. And this is really bizarre about people who are illiterate, because they have a memory like elephants. So that's the only thing they can depend on. They cannot depend on no memos and stuff. And I discovered that later on in life, that about my mother. But that's what my mother is the reason. My mother and my father is the reason why I am here, why I'm still alive, because I got shot at so many times. I got arrested, I got tortured. So she decided, you know, it's time for my child to get out of here. And that's why I came to the United States. So I came and I got my BS degree in civil engineering. And then I traveled back home and I wanted to start working and support my family. And, you know, I couldn't get any place to hire me for. So I decided I'll come back and do my master's at that time. So I came back and I stayed. You know, I got my master's and I stayed. And I think that really changed my life and my parents' life, because I brought them back over here in 1985, and I had them live in one home for over 36 years. I bought the house for them and I had them live, and they lived a great life. And I think my mother is probably one of the most idol, the best idol in my life, because although she was illiterate, but she was able to do a lot to her community, serve. She was wise. The things that she say, the proverbs that she quote, and one of her proverbs was, or her say, she said, "Son, humility is one of the best aspects of life. Look at the nature, the lowest part of the plain gets the most rain. So that's the more humble you are, the more you can get from people. You can grab from life, because people are full of goodness, but it's up to you to polish them, and they are a reflection of yourself, and become a reflection of yourself." She was very wise, and as I was talking to you about the reason I have joined Rotary. I mean, you may have that question next. I don't know if I
Well, you
should
know,
go in there.
Shab, as I'm listening to you, I'm realizing it's your mother's vision, her vision for you to become educated and to have a different life. I think my parents were the same way. They came from Hungary and they wanted me to be an American so that I could have the privilege of working here and using my brain. And your mother had the most amazing brain because she was illiterate, as you said, but that didn't stop her from getting you to the United States. Her vision was bigger than whatever situation she was in. And here you are today, a Rotarian, a member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, a man who has gotten more global grants through Rotary, helped more people. You're like you're taking on your mother's wishes for the planet. She wished for you to have a life, and you're helping the planetary people, Rotarians, Rotaractors, becoming all they can be. Is that true for you?
Well, even when I joined Rotary, as we were talking, chatting, I thought Rotary was a car club, because of the wheel. Because what's the difference in, it's a car, a AAA or Sam's Club or Rotary Club, but the wheel represented that, and I was in the business of cars. But the minute I knew what Rotary is all about, it brought to me the service that my mother used to give in her community. Somebody will fall, she will take a needle and a thread, just regular needle and a thread, and she'll sew them up. A lady's giving birth, she will go heat the water, make a pile of wood, heat the water, and then she takes that water, and then she delivered the baby. You fall, you break your arm, she will make a form out of wheat and flour and some kind of rock that will solidify, and then she will put a cast on you. Um, she would, even though we were so poor, we didn't even have food, she will manage to take a dish of food to a neighbor that she was almost disabled and old. So all of that, what I've seen, and Milt Levinson is the one who really made me understand what Rotary is. When I've seen what Rotary is, I looked at that picture, what Rotarians do in the world is like my mother is doing in the world, on her community, because she was illiterate and she didn't even know how to write or read. She will draw her name when she wants to sign, but she has a vision or a kindness that was enough to affect and her little community that she lived in, and she became like a leader in her own community because she's capable of doing things to her community, and they depended on her. So, and I look at that and I compare it to Rotarians in the world, and I see the mother love that Rotarians do in the world. And if that doesn't establish peace through that kind of love, kind of care, kind of kindness, kind of beautiful touch. You touch people with your heart, with your when you give somebody a meal. Maybe sometimes we think that, oh yeah, we just stopped the hunger. No, you know what? He probably needed that one meal to take him from point A to point B and become somewhere. Or you give him some clothes, or you let him have a shower, or you have a public shower, and you give him clothes, and you give. That's probably that one step that he couldn't do to become successful or become a worker and productive. So it's not the little things we do, it's this, the big things is a combination and a gathering of small things that we do around the world. And like my grandfather always says, when you build a great castle, every little nail counts. So even the nail is so little and has no value, but it can hold something in that castle.
You describe Rotary to a T. If we practice kindness, love, and charity, if you want to call it that, and helping people make that first step into the world that they needed right at that moment. And do you think that's because you have your mother's awareness, or how does that work for you?
Well, it's the opportunity that comes. Yes, the mother awareness, that's what it is in the back of my mind. So because when I knew what Rotary is all about, then I became a soldier of love and peace, because I knew that I have an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to practice what my mother used to practice on a bigger scale. So I knew that this is probably, it's a lifestyle that probably I will never change. And whenever you get an opportunity, especially an opportunity like this to become a Rotarian and become a peace messenger, then if you do not take it, then you are really missing a lot. You see, a lot of people say, you're talking about the global grants and the money and the big things. A lot of people say, you know what? You and your wife, you've given over $4 million to the foundation. Why don't you sit down and then that's it? It's good enough. And I say, no. Our mission in life is to touch and benefit as many people as possible in our life. And God is giving us more because our intention is to give more. And I say, you don't have to be intimidated by what we give, because 60 cents will vaccinate a child and save their life. So it is again, my grandfather's say. But also I say it freely. If you cannot give monetarily, money, human being can give endless amount of love, endless amount of kindness, endless amount of service. So you can do this. So instead of probably you don't have the money. So that's why I look for the children or our youth. And I'll say, I visit the clubs sometimes, and some guy will stand up and say, I've been in Rotary 60 years, 70 years old. Well, let's say, and I'm going to just take it as an example, and it's let's say you touch a person about 18 or 20 years old, and once in Rotary and you love Rotary, you probably will stay in it for 60 or 70 years. So I take a calculator and I say, I want to be in Rotary for 70 years, times 365 equal, times 24 equal. So this is the figure that if we take one young person and we tell him, show him what Rotary is about, and he stays and serves for 60 years, this is how many hours he will be served in Rotary. And count that and multiply that by 30,000 Rotaract that we have around the world, right?
Well, you are known as Mr. Rotaract. You have helped more Rotaractors, and maybe you should tell our audience what a Rotaractor is.
Well, Rotaractors are young people who are Rotarian at heart, but they do not have to pay the price the Rotarian do, because they can have the kindness, the power, the enthusiasm to serve others. And those Rotaract are young people who are at college, or also they are in community group. So you can be Rotaract from college, or now it used to be a program before. Now it's a part of Rotary.
It's a part of Rotary, you're right. They're a very big part of Rotary. In fact, you said that at the Houston convention, you got to meet so many of those Rotaractors who you've had part of their lives with.
And it was amazing, because at the beginning of the pandemic, a month into it, I look around and I say, I don't hear about the young people. I don't even hear in North America about the Rotarians meeting regular. Because the first time they put this moratorium, whatever, I was a speaker actually in Ukraine. Okay. And then I got invited to be a speaker in India. And then I said, okay, let's start forming groups that work online instead of working in person.
Mm-hmm.
And we formed Rotaract for Peace. And we did not know how big that's going to become, because from Rotaract for Peace, we found out, like in Colombia, the Rotaract, because the Rotarian are more subject to be infected by the disease than young people. Young people have higher immunity. So they approached us and they said, okay, you can help us, but we need money to help other people, or the elder people. And I said, how? They said, we can go and put a flag on each door or on the balcony on this older people house, and if they need anything, they take the flag and put it in a certain place, and then we'll stop in there, and then we'll ask them what they need, and we'll help them. Right? So, and they said they were giving them food, they were setting appointments for doctors, they were bringing them medicine, water, because they cannot get out. So, but these young people, so we start helping with money. Now we start showing them how to do global grants. And actually, last year, when no one in the world done a global grant with Rotaract, we did 4 global grants with Rotaract. And an example is Colombia, and Rossi Birth from Colombia. She let them use her credentials to log into Rotary International and post a global grant. And that has been done around the world last year, because they couldn't write a global grant. Now they can. But fantastic. Before they couldn't.
Yes.
But from that one group that we started, now we have, at least in the world, probably 25 groups from Rotaract that they're acting and reacting together. Even at RILA, and I was in Ukraine to help establish first RILA about 3 or 4 years ago, when Mykolai Stabienko was the governor. And we started RILA over there, international RILA. It was small, 25 people. But the second year, but the important thing is that RILA, the discussion leaders were from the Peace Corps, 10 Peace Corps, and also the Rotaract were part of that. So at that time, the Rotaract and the Peace Corps were helping RILA. Not the Rotarians were 1 or 2 Rotarians, but they would come and speak, whatever. But the second year, when it happened in the pandemic, it was amazing. We decided to put it online. It was amazing to see 740 entries online from around the world, and over 500 people attended the event, RILA, for over a week. So that's the power of empowering the young people, because they become the force, not you. They will start driving you, to do things because you want to catch up with them. You want to keep up with them. And that's what the investment in our youth, and I see it all over the world. And when you see Houston, I went to Houston, and some of those head of organizations in Rotaract, Interact, and they're there, but those I've seen them in our meetings, you know, and then they were bringing, the Rotaract put the first peace conference as a Rotaract, and
Wow.
over 500 people attended.
Wow.
And then they put another peace conference about music in the world. And I was so emotional when I saw all kind of people from all over the world with all kind of music. One mother from Brazil, she was with her 3 children sitting on a bed and performing for all of us. You know, the music and stuff. And you know what? Music also a peace form of peace, because everybody can understand music.
Yes, music is, Shab, when I look at you, I look at a Rotarian who practices what he preaches. You're not just saying the young people need to be in Rotary, you're showing them how they can be in Rotary. And it's amazing, the stories that you're telling me. No wonder you got the Humanitarian Award of the Year, because look what you're doing. Look at the things that you are doing to empower others. And I thank you on behalf of Rotary. I thank you for the work that you've been doing. Shab also is a member of the Rotary Action Group for World Peace, to make our Rotaries around the world understand that they're part of a peace puzzle that we need today. And my goal as chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace is to bring every Rotary Club into the power of peace, and that the cornerstone of their Rotary Club should be peace. And I'm going to add Rotaracts and all of the other young people. Bring in the youngins, because they're the ones with the energy, right?
Right. And their energy you will feel it in your blood, because they're next to you. They have new ideas. They are very well versed. They're very well connected on the internet,
I was just going to say they're very savvy when it comes to the Rotary online.
Social media and stuff, so they can help you, and then you can help them. They're probably not well financed, because they're young, they're building their future, but nevertheless, they have so much to offer. And the wisdom of the Rotarian and the energy of the Rotaract and the young people, I think it will bring, and the women that's been coming into Rotary right now, because of our President Jennifer Jones, and also now another president going to be a woman. So the women and the young people, I think they're going to change the face of Rotary.
Yes, I hate to say this, but you know what? It's about time.
Well, it takes time, and then we learn from our mistakes. Sylvia Whitlock, started that movement for women a long time ago.
Took her 11 years, Sylvia Whitlock, to get the Duarte Rotary Club into its official position. They had to be the ex-Duarte Rotary Club because she was a woman. And it was so interesting. But you know what? The future is bright and open with Jennifer Jones and the Sylvia Whitlocks and me, chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, celebrating our 10th anniversary. Did you know that, Shab?
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And what also has the pandemic, a lot of people say the pandemic was the worst, and it was not. I will tell you why. So many women had action groups. They started a couple action groups in the pandemic. And the women in India, they do not have the privilege of traveling alone without their husbands. But this little window that opened up for them, and it gave them a window to the world, and they become so active in Rotary, like Nagayoti from India. She become involved with environmental and peace at the same time. So, and we cannot really, they are intertwined. peace and environmental are intertwined. And I have a speech about that I put together a long time ago. They're intertwined. But women became more empowered with this pandemic because they can go online. They can go on this TV alone without their husbands.
Zoom is their friend.
Yes, and then I met so many women that I didn't even know. One time we had like the first off of each one, and there was one from that became governor is from India, Sylvia Whitlock, Jennifer Jones, and somebody else, and all these women, they were first in Rotary, and we wouldn't have known that unless it was in the pandemic, and then people start knowing each other more. So I would say, we as Rotarian, if you have Rotary in your heart, you will find a way to serve.
Absolutely.
And we have known more people in the pandemic more than we have traveled around the world. When we went to Houston, and I say it, and I apologize for that when I say it, for people who would come to us and give us a hug and tell us, thank you for what you're doing. I've been this, I've seen that. And I say, you're welcome. But in actuality, some of them I did not even know.
Of course not, because you're like Mr. Zoom of Rotary, because everybody knows you, Shab. In fact, when I went on Google to do your name, you were right there on the list of people who were important with your first name. And then when I got to your last name, Elawar, you were the only one. And it's like a Google search shows me the power of Rotary. The Google search shows me the power of what one person can do. And that's what I got. Now you're listening to Rotarian Chehab Elawar. Now you know that if he can do it, you can do it. He came in as, were you a refugee? I don't know if you're a person that had to leave your country because of a civil war, as he has. Look at what you can do with your life today. Think about that. And I'm Barbara Gonmuller, and I welcome you again to view this with a friend. Have a conversation about Shab. Have a conversation about your Rotary Club, and empower the women and the men to work together, and go on Zoom. Have a conversation once you've watched this today. Have a conversation that brings you into the reality of our own personal power. As you look at Shab with his smile, I say, God bless you, Shab. Do you have a last word for today?
Well, I think there's an opportunity for everyone to do good in the world. Kindness is really in your heart. Just you have to polish it and forget about the hate, the different religion, the different cultures. Human beings, they bleed the same, and all hearts full of love. And when you put your energy, positive energy, into what you believe in, you can move the world. Yes, refugees or not, there is an opportunity. And this country is a great country because we are blessed to be able to help others. We are on this side of the equation, not on that side of the equation. But this is an opportunity for us, because when we face God one day, we can say, we have done our best to help your creation. And helping them, it helps you because it changed you as a person. I came from a war-infected zone. Now I belong to Rotary Action Group for Peace. I belong to Rotary, to the most honorable organization on earth that helps human beings and their suffering. And I was wondering all my life why Rotarians didn't come to save us, to save me as a child. We can be anywhere and more existing in the world where we are needed. And I want to thank you, Barbara.
Yes.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I really appreciate your leadership, and really appreciate the time that you take to introduce me and you and everyone that do good in the world to each other. So thanks again.
Really appreciate those words. And I'm hoping that you will share this with every Rotaractor, because they will begin to see their power. they're inspiration because of you. And I hope that if you know anybody who needs to be inspired as an immigrant, as a refugee, I come from immigrant background. My grandparents had to leave Hungary to avoid World War I, and they met on the boat and got married. You know, there's a lot of us out there who wouldn't be here today without the love of our parents. And that's what Shab said. His mother's vision for him propelled her to sell what they had so that she could pay his way to the United States and he could live a life of service. And that's what I got today, Shab. I got from you service above self. You have put yourself out there for those who needed it. And I'm Barbara Gonmuller, and this is peacepodcast.org. And I think our goal here is to bring happiness to the world and to listen to people who have mentored us, people like Shab's mother, people like Shab, who may be the mentor you need. Pay attention because this is your time. God bless you, and may you have a peaceful day. And I say, keep watching. Shab is number 89 in our podcast. There's lots of vision there. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye,
Thank you very
Shab.
much.
You're
Thank you, and
best.
you have a beautiful day. Thank you.